Hey, what's happening, everybody? I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and as you can tell, we are not in the studio this week.
We are absent this week, and so in replacement, we are going to do for you is we're going to play back an old episode from one of our archive shows that you may have missed, and it's going to play for you right now.
So enjoy it. That's like a 3-lens ring.
You know what that's for?
That's
for you can take three pictures of three things at the same time. That's what.
Chris just got me with my mouth full of coffee. I almost spit it out right now.
And now, coming to you from the K2 Studios in San Diego, California, it's the world-famous Chris and Christine Show.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? How y'all doing? I am Chris.
And I'm Christine, and welcome to the 12th episode of the Chris and Christine Show. Do-do-do-do.
Awesome. Episode 12. 12 makes a dozen, which is like my favorite food, donuts.
Yeah, Chris loves donuts, and he loves to get donuts from lots of different places, but his absolute favorite donut is...
Which one? The Krispy Kreme?
Well, you tell me.
Well, I do love Krispy Kreme. Unfortunately, a lot of the Krispy Kremes around the town closed up. There's only like 2 left in the whole city.
But don't you like Yum Yum donuts or something like that?
Yes,
too?
I usually get the Yum Yum donuts because they're open 24 hours, and there's one on the way home from work. So when I get home from work, I will just swing on by and pull up in there and get a dozen for me and for the kids. So when they wake up in the morning, they have a dozen donuts.
Yeah, that's so fun. And I'll never forget when the Dunkin' Donuts opened up nearby Chris's house.
Oh, yeah.
The day it opened, he's like, babe, can you go get me donuts?
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, the line is like forever long. No, I'm not going to get donuts.
Well, that's the first time we actually got a Dunkin' Donuts brand of a restaurant, what do we call them, here in town. It's not that far from me. So
yeah, it's not that far at all. But people talk a lot about the Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Right.
Like, that's a thing on the East Coast.
You can buy them. I was actually drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee here in San Diego. Like, you'd buy them by the bag at like Costco or wherever, a store, and you buy the coffee, like coffee grinds or whatever. And it tasted okay, you know? I mean, it is what it is.
I've had it a couple times. I mean, it's like nothing to write home about, but...
Right.
Yeah.
I drink coffee. I do drink coffee a lot, but as much as I drink it, I'm not like a coffee snob, you know? Like, I don't have to have the best of the best, whatever. To me, it's like, as long as it's better than the basic.
Yeah, I like coffee, but Chris teases me that my coffee looks more like an ice cream sundae. Like, it's all light and sweet versus being something like black coffee. My dad has always drank black coffee growing up. He'd have like a sweet and low in it or something like that. But... that's what I grew up seeing, but I definitely put creamer and sweetener in it. But Chris, back to what we were talking about, loves a good donut. And so tonight is your 12-pack.
Thank you. Where are the donuts at? That was your one job you had to do, was bring donuts.
Man, I screwed up.
Oh, man. Well, do they do delivery? Does Uber Eats do donut pickup?
I think that they do.
No way.
DoorDash for donuts.
DoorDash, or what's the other one called? There's another one.
Uber Eats and Grubhub.
Grubhub.
And Postmates.
The post office?
Postmates.
Postmates.
Like Postmates,
post
Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, and there's a couple others.
Oh, okay. Well, when Zeke gets his license and he's 16, we can call it the Zeke
Eats.
Zeke Eats. Go get us some food.
I know that he would do it in a heartbeat too. So we are so excited to be here for episode 12 with you all. Just to recap, last week was a fantastic week. It was a milestone for us with our podcast where we actually ran our first interview. And we hosted Richard and Barbie Armenta, co-authors of the new book, The Right Combination, Finding Love and Life After Divorce.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Christine, for actually taking care of that. I had to work that night, so I could not be here for the interview. But Christine took care of it, and she did a wonderful job.
Oh, thanks, babe.
I know. I mean, I had to be at work. Someone's got to pay for this place. You know what I'm saying? So I was out there hitting the grind, doing my thing.
Saving the world.
Saving the world, right. And Christine held the fort it down, and she took care of it.
Thanks so much. And it really was an enlightening conversation. So definitely go and listen back to episode 11 and listen to what Richard and Barbie had to talk about. It's not just for individuals that are dating after divorce. It's for anyone that's navigating complex relationships. They are relationship coaches and guest speakers. So yeah, definitely take a listen to episode 11.
Have they, where do they speak at? Like, where is their specific, like, is it for churches or for schools or what?
Churches, and for different types of, for Barbie, for women's events, for Richard, for men's events.
Okay, all
Really-
with the church, though, or something else?
No, it's outside organizations too, but they definitely do have a faith focus in their conversations.
Right, I just wondering if that was their specialty. Like, they focused and they went to the men's group retreats through the church they attend, or if it was something different.
Yeah, I think that that's their primary audience, but they're open to lots of different things. But I learned a lot from that interview, and I know that from tonight's episode, we're going to be tackling some more hot topics that we think are enlightening and bringing in some real Chris and Christine life info into tonight's conversation.
We are. Oh, hot teas.
Hot teas, hot topics. Yeah. But something else fun that happened this week,
What?
other than that interview, was my favorite intro into the holiday season: Starbucks holiday cups.
What? I heard Starbucks has had a lot of heat over the years of getting the Starbucks coffee cups because people didn't like them because they were too Christmassy or too religious or too winter or too whatever.
Yeah, they used to just be red cups,
Right. What's wrong with that?
and that was fine. But then the next year they had something that was very like Judeo-Christian Christmas themed. And so what they did the following years, they started to have people submit designs
Oh, yeah, I
for their
remember
holiday
that. Yeah, I
cups, like
remember
a
that.
competition.
Oh, yeah. Mine got picked. It was just a snowflake. And I think they have that. Well, thank you. You're welcome.
Well, I was really excited to see that holiday cups were coming out this week. And so on Thursday morning, I went into Starbucks. I got my holiday latte. It's a caramel brulee latte with non-fat milk. That's what I like for the holidays. And I was super surprised that they gave me not only my regular coffee, but they gave me a to-go cup. It's a little plastic one, and it's
What?
red. And they gave it to me for free. And they said every time I bring it back, I get 10 cents off my drink.
Well, is the cup like 10 cents worth of coffee because it's so small?
No, it's a grande cup size.
Oh, I thought you said small cup. I just imagine like a thimble or something.
No, it was their gift to their customers who ordered holiday drinks on the first day.
That's right. I do remember that now. That is fantastic.
Thank you. Well, I have my cute little cup in my car, and it goes with me so that when I go and get my coffee, they just put it in that. But it's definitely kicking off into the holiday season, and we have some special episodes in the works that we are excited to share with you over the next several weeks.
Right.
So definitely stick with us, follow, and subscribe.
And thank you guys who have listened and are listening. And thank you guys. And, share the love, tell your friends. And, yeah,
Yeah, we really appreciate your loyal listening, our loyal listeners,
Yes.
because it really does help put some wind in our sails when we hear your stories of how a topic has made you think or made you laugh or connected with an experience you've had. And so that's what we do, is we try to design episodes that sometimes tug at your heart and sometimes just make you laugh.
Perfect. Well said. Well scripted. I love it.
And so we have another great episode for you tonight, episode 12. And we're going to be tackling some more hot topics, and we will jump into those right after this. The Chris and Christine Show is now on Instagram at the K2 Show San Diego. Check out our latest pictures, videos, show teasers, and life updates on Instagram at the K2 Show San Diego. And now it's time for Hot Topics. Do.
Awesome. Can't wait. What you got today, baby?
Well, before we hop into this, I just want to fill you in on something Chris and I have been talking about and came up again during our little promo break. And it's we are on the verge of needing to upgrade our iPhones.
That's right. I get the emails all the time from Apple and from AT&T. They says upgrade. I'm like, okay, yeah, but I got to get over to the store. I got to do it, or I got to back the phone up, and it's like a process, and I'm so lazy. That's really the truth. I'm so lazy, but I'm like, my phone works, and what's the new phones do? I got a buddy at work who always gets the newest phone. Not Apple, but he always gets a new phone. Like every new phone, he has to get a new one. And I'm like, well, what's that phone do that your last one doesn't do? Because unless it like makes you coffee and cleans your room for you and drives you to work, I mean, if it doesn't do that stuff, then what's the point?
Yeah, well, I take a little bit of a different approach to it. I'm a very, very sentimental person, and I like to hold on to things that have a sentimental value to me. And Chris and I met, we've said this before, on Match.com, and I have the same phone that I had when we started dating. And
so do I do too.
Yeah, and I keep all the text messages. Chris actually just deleted all his photos from the phone because he backed them up to the cloud.
That's right.
But I keep all of our text messages and all of our photos on the same stream. And I'm kind of hesitating on upgrading that phone because I don't know, I'm kind of attached to it. And evidently, I'm not the only one.
Yes. We have a story here out of the UK.
The UK,
UK. Now, check this out. It's kind of similar to ours, but
it's a couple that met on Tinder, and the topic goes like this. The couple who met on Tinder relied on their phones to foster the first sparks of their romance. They have gotten engaged using a ring made from their old phones.
What?
Yeah. So get this one, Chris.
What?
This couple met on Tinder.
Yeah.
And then when the guy was thinking about proposing,
right,
he decided to use pieces of their old iPhone to compose the ring that he proposed to his girlfriend with.
Way.
Yeah. So apparently some of the components of the phone that are inside actually have gold in them. It's like,
really?
Yeah, it's like 9-carat gold.
Is that why they keep offering to buy your old phones? They want the gold, right?
Maybe. It's not a ton of it, but it's 9-carat, so it's not really high value gold.
Oh, it's not?
It's softer.
I don't know what that means. I thought lower numbers were high or better.
No.
Oh, well,
no, it's purer the higher you get. So it has less impurities when it's like 24 karat.
Okay.
But what this guy did is he took their phones and took it to this, it's like a recycling jewelry place. And so they pride themselves on minimizing waste and taking old objects like iPhones and electronics,
TVs,
and converting
computers, stuff like that.
Yeah, converting it into jewelry. And so they took the different pieces of the phone and they made it into a ring. And so here's what it says. The ring is made from the handset speakers and microphones that the couple used to whisper sweet nothings to each other, the cameras they used for selfies and video chat when living apart, and a 9-carat gold band created using the very circuit boards that kept those phones alive.
No way. That's fantastic.
Yeah, but I took a look at this ring, and it's really, like, new age looking. So it's...
Well, you would expect. Does it have, like, a little the screen on it and like you can text on it?
No, but instead of having any type of semi-precious stone or precious stone in the center of the ring,
what is the center stone?
It's the camera.
That is awesome. Have you ever looked at the inside of your camera on your phone?
It's like you keep looking and looking deeper and deeper because there's all like those different little rings in there and the lenses.
Then it's like a weird blue color tinge to the little camera thing, whatever it is, it's inside the very center. And so I always look at that. I'm like, that is so cool looking.
Yeah, so they use that for the center of the ring, and then the band is built from the circuit boards, and then the pieces of the speaker make up the sides right next to that center stone. And it's a really interesting looking engagement ring. But it has this incredible sentimental value to them.
Absolutely. I mean, that is like, you look at that thing and you're wearing it and you're like, that is how we met, literally. And physically.
Yeah. And then you don't have to worry about it just like going into a junk heap anywhere. And so I was reading that story and just thinking about that, like, how would you guys feel if you created your engagement ring or wedding band out of your old iPhone.
I think that is super, super cool. But I love like sentimental gifts like that. Like the sentimental gifts that Christine got me for my birthday are unbelievable. I love them so much. And that's what she does. She gives very sentimental gifts. And I can see Christine doing something like this. And why didn't I do this? I should have thought about doing this and spent all the money I spent on my ring. Or sorry, Christine's ring. Sorry. But I wonder, what was the cost to do this, you think?
I don't know. It didn't say, but I was thinking of looking that up after the show to see what something like that would go.
Well, check this out. Put this in perspective. I believe a new iPhone or even an old iPhone like that, it's probably worth maybe $500, right?
I don't know. The new ones are going for $1,500.
Well, we're talking like the biggest one and the biggest memory.
Right. That one has 3 cameras on it. Imagine that ring. That's like a 3. That's like a 3 lens ring.
You know what that's for?
That's for you
can take 3 pictures of 3 things at the same time. That's what
Chris just got me with my mouth full of coffee. I almost spit it out right now.
Oh, that's what that's for. But what I'm saying that the camera, the phone they had was probably older. So you bought if you were saying we're going to do this, right? And you bought an old phone for say a couple $100.
It said it was an iPhone 5S.
Well, that's an old phone. Gosh, that was probably. You probably can get one of those for maybe a few $100s if anyone's still selling them. Now, I'm saying the cost to manufacture the ring, that's got to be up there. The phone itself is probably a couple $100. The ring's probably maybe a couple thousand. So that probably ring might have cost them, I don't know, maybe a couple grand.
It probably did, especially when you're thinking of taking apart, like you're deconstructing an iPhone. So you have to keep that camera intact and then put it into a ring setting and then to pull out the gold from that circuit board to be able to create a band.
That's like melt that down?
Yeah, absolutely.
To get the gold out, right?
Well, I don't know exactly all the process, but you're going to have to melt it at some point to make it into a ring.
That's awesome. I have high respect for these guys. This guy is getting very creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he spends over the price, now I would love this guy more if he got a super good deal on this ring. If he got this ring for like super, super cheap compared to, say, I don't know, like a regular wedding band, give him props. I love the dude to death because he saved a bunch of money, saved the iPhone, got sentimental value. It's worth more to them than probably a regular ring because it's sentimental value.
Right, definitely. And it's definitely a one-of-a-kind creation that
right, that's what I'm saying.
Beyond just even the sentimental value, it's just very, very unique. So props to this couple for coming up with a really innovative way to catalog their love and to keep it for all eternity.
Oh, man. Well, good luck to them. Did they get married already? Do you know?
It says that they are planning to get married, but they have a daughter together and they're living together. So it's definitely, they're headed in that direction.
Right. And speaking of heading in that direction, when we come back, we have a list of things you probably should consider about when the two of you, these couples, get together and decide to merge, get married.
Yeah. Bring together a family. And we'll be right back after this.
All right. The Chris and Christine Show is available everywhere on Google Play with Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and iHeartRadio.
So now it's time for hot topic number 2.
Fantastic. What you got, babe? Oh, actually, I got it, but sorry.
But I'm going to intro into this one. So last week on our podcast episode, we shared some exciting news that we have decided not just when we are going to get married, but where we are going to get married.
That's right. We're going to get married in Hawaii. Oh, it looked amazing. It felt amazing. And I heard the weather is fantastic the time of year we're going to go. And that's great because, but the thing is that we were looking at weddings here in San Diego, and for the kind of event we want to do, it's funny. It's almost cheaper to do it in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it really is crazy. But that brings us to part of our conversation that we've been having frequently lately, which is as we think of that important walk down the aisle and blending our families, it brings up a really important conversation that some people like to skirt around, which is about how we're going to handle finances and whether we're going to blend finances or what kind of approach we're going to take to running our household.
Right, because both of us been married previously. Both of us we're both older now. Spoiler alert, not a kid anymore, kids. But neither is Christine either,
Aw,
even though she
man.
looks like one. But no, but we're a little older, so we have developed more. We have more experience, and we have more stuff than we did when we were a lot younger, So when we're talking about blending families, we're talking about budgeting and blending these families together. Talk about the money and the experience and the jobs and the physical stuff. 'Cause I have a house, and that kind of stuff. And
I
everything.
don't.
Right.
So there's differences.
Right, but she has experience in her job, and she has schooling, and she has education on her back, and lots of education. Christine's a doctor, or she's going to be a doctor soon. So, and I'm not a doctor. Christine's going to be a doctor.
Thanks,
So she has all that, and I don't have that. So it's kind of like it's mixing of both worlds.
Right. And so when we talk about blending families and coming together, bringing finances under the same household, there's a lot of different considerations and things that maybe some couples don't think about when they're going second time around. And so Chris has a great hot topic that he's going to bring to us from Mass Mutual, which is called Budgeting for Blended Families.
Right. This is a list of things you probably should consider when you are blending a family. And I'm going to run through them right now. Okay, the first one on the list we got is obviously the prenup.
Yeah, so this is a pretty controversial one, though, isn't it, Chris?
Oh, my goodness. Like, I asked my ex-wife about when I got married the first time about the prenup, and she threw a fit. So, it's a very touchy subject to bring up because I had a lot to offer. And I believe when the person brings a lot to the table, like everything, you know what I'm saying? It gets kind of scary wanting to just give it all away half to the other person. And the prenup, what it says here is that a prenuptial agreement is a legal contract that spells out which premarital assets and debts will remain separate and which, if any, will be combined. That includes real estate, brokerage accounts, retirement funds, and life insurance. It also specifies that each person's property rights are should the marriage end in divorce.
And now here's the thing with prenups, because I used to be in this state of mind where it was, well, prenups are only for people that are going to end up getting divorced. But as I've gotten older, what I realize is that these types of agreements really help outline how we respect one another and what we bring to the partnership. And it allows for the conversation to happen that sometimes doesn't happen about like what happens in a worst case scenario if one of us was to get in some life altering kind of accident. How was the other provided for? What are the boundaries? What do we think is off limits? And it's really not about what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine, but it's let's put everything out on the table and have complete transparency. And I know for some people that go through that process of the prenup, just the process of going through it helps them realize, wait, we aren't really the right compatibility when it comes to finances. Yeah, I've had a couple of friends that have gone through that process and realized, you know what, it's just, I'm glad we talked about all this because this isn't going to work.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's not the case for us. Chris and I, before we even got engaged, we had a conversation about what our feelings are for prenups. We don't know yet whether or not we're going to decide to get one, but we're not opposed to it should the other really be passionate about it.
Right. I'm not going to argue that. Now, the next thing on the list is, this is a big one. This is kind of on the same line. To merge or to not merge your money. Now, paying bills in a blended family can be problematic too, especially if the one or the two parties make significantly more than the other one. So it's kind of like, should you join accounts, really, is what they're trying to talk about here.
Yeah, so this is interesting. It's funny. My dad and I had a conversation about this a couple months ago because Chris and I are very strongly opposed to having joint accounts. It's not to say that we don't figure out how to share expenses in the future as we're looking at blending our families. But Dave Ramsey says, having separate accounts is like the beginning of a divorce. And I know a lot of married couples that keep separate finances, but really I think it's about what works best for each couple.
Right. It's just, if you break it down, the basics of it, it's numbers. It's a big numbers game. There's two of us, there's two jobs, and there's two incomes. There's one house. We can figure it out. And also, it's like always thought people that blended incomes together were on the lower income side, where they kind of had to, one person worked, the other person didn't work or whatever, and they kind of needed, like the wife, hate to be stereotypical, but like say the husband worked and the wife stayed at home, and then the husband made all the money, so that he would have to have a joint account for his wife so she can go out and buy groceries and whatever. So that's kind of where I always thought that came from.
Yeah, but I think that that's not necessarily true, because I grew up in a very conservative household, and the way we were raised is everything is shared equally. Everything goes in together. That whole, like, walking down the altar and getting married, it's the two become one, and that meant finances too. But as Chris has mentioned, we've both been married before. We've both been burned by that situation. And so we've decided for ourselves, because we do both have some, I'll call it financial trauma, that we bring into our relationship, that we've decided for the health of both of us and our relationship, we're going to keep separate finances. But what we are going to do is develop a household budget.
Right. And going on that budget, if you want to do this too, I thought about this. I should run this by Christine, by the way, is that we do a third account.
Right.
And the third account is like the
household account.
Right. It's combined. We both have access to it, but we both dump our share into it.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our own accounts and our own like jobs and our own stuff. So we can dump the household money into that, and that money can pay the bills. It's just another way of doing it, but it still keeps things separate, even though it's kind of a combination of both.
Yeah.
You know? Like
it's
both worlds.
Here's what we've agreed is collectively ours. And then separately, here's our fun money to do with what we need to.
Right. Fantastic. That's great. Now, the next one is, speaking of that, financial secrets are not your friend.
Yeah. So this one is interesting because I know of some friends. Actually, I was having a conversation with somebody, I'm not going to disclose who it is, who is talking about going on a crazy shopping spree that she does once a year, but spends a lot of money.
Wait, back up a second. You're saying somebody goes on a crazy shopping spree, but only once a year?
Once a year.
What's that even
stock
mean?
up on work clothes and everything for the year at the Nordstrom annual sale. And it's a lot of stuff.
How much? How much are you talking about? How much?
I don't know. She didn't disclose.
Well, how much do you think it is?
A lot.
Like, what
She said she does the finances, and her son works at the store where she was getting everything tailored, and saw her receipt and took a picture and said, "Mom, OMG."
But
and
if it's only once a year, think about that.
But she said, "If you tell your father, you're dead."
Okay.
And so I had to chuckle at the time, but it goes to this whole conversation of financial secrets are not your friend. And so Chris and I actually had a conversation earlier today where I was sharing with him some of my financial, I don't want to say struggles, but financial transparency, and saying, hey, this is where I'm at. But we are very open with like how much, not credit card debt, but how much student loan debt I have. And then he always shares with me like where his credit cards are. And it's just something that we feel is really important.
Right. I try to be very open about that stuff. I don't try to hide stuff. When they're saying here in the articles, they're saying how people will try to hide big, massive debts. Like you get married and then you didn't know that your spouse had like 5 loan sharks after them and like, all this crazy stuff. And next thing you know, because that'll affect you too.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not. And I think that's another reason why I think keeping separate accounts is kind of important, because what's going to happen if it gets really bad, the IRS can, if you late on taxes, they can go in and seize your account.
Yeah.
And take it from you. Now, if you have 2 accounts, now imagine if you had one account. We shared an account together, a family account, one account, and they seized that. And the other person didn't know or whatever. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I've walked that road of, I'm not going to give a lot of details, but walked that road of an individual holding a lot of financial secrets and still trying to pay off the last little bit of that, because yes, everything was collective. And so in California, we are a community property and a community debt state. And so even if the other person racks up that debt, if you're married to them, you have to take an equal stake of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow, that's crazy.
Please don't hold any financial secrets. If you find yourself needing to hide things from your partner and you're getting into a blended family situation, reevaluate your motivation and your motives and divulge those secrets.
Well, the next one on the list kind of talks about that too. It talks about discuss your financial philosophy. So like we just talked about it just now, like figure out what we're going to do and a budget, a plan, and figure out what don't keep secrets. And if you have a crazy spending spree like your friend, or if I have a crazy spending spree, we should kind of like talk about that stuff before we really get into it. You know?
And this one goes a little bit deeper where it's even saying like, you need to discuss if one of you is a spender, like, okay, I'm going to spend every dollar by the end of the month for that paycheck and start fresh, versus if somebody else is a saver or if somebody else is like super, super frugal. You need to know, because those types of things can have a rub effect in your relationship. And so you just want to talk through them.
Right. And that all comes back to the budget. Figuring out a budget, figuring out a plan, and kind of sticking to it. And that's kind of what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And also here it says discuss future expenses. Now it must be like if it's sort of like putting kids through college or something, maybe.
Yeah. So especially if you have kids from other relationships, it's having an open discussion around things like, are we going to collectively contribute for one another's children going through college? What happens if a kiddo needs braces? If it's my child biologically and your stepchild, are you going to chip in? But having some of those conversations so it's not just an assumption of you're going to pay and then there's lack of clarity. And so just really being open about that.
Right. Exactly. Next we got set shared goals. That must be like kind of the same thing about future expenses, I'm guessing. It's like you set a shared goal, like we have a goal to get married, for example. And well, let's just talk about after you get married, but I'm just saying that's an example I can use. And we're set to pay for this in cash, which it's kind of a crazy thing to do because a lot of people don't do that. Mm-hmm. And we're going to set a budget, and that's our goal, to get married in Hawaii. And our goal is this amount of money, and we're going to hit that goal. Right?
Yeah. And then the second thing to that is when Chris and I got engaged and we were talking about where we wanted to live, we both have healthy incomes from our day jobs. I mean, even though we're world famous on this podcast, we do have outside jobs. And so one of the things that we talked about is with our combined purchasing power that we could actually get a really nice house in San Diego. But we've decided for our financial goals to stay and to live in Chris's home, which is a very nice home. And we're gonna work on adding some flair to it the way that we want to.
Yes, Christine's going to design. She has this whole redesign for downstairs, and he up here too. And I said, go right ahead, because I'm kind of like living like a bachelor a little bit, So I kind of like whatever. I'm more function than fashion when it comes to stuff around here. So
right, but we did talk about, because we have a little bit more of a combined purchasing power, the idea of snowballing the cost of the house, like adding more to the mortgage payment every month so that we could pay it off quicker and get more equity.
Now you're talking my love language.
Right. But that's what this is about when it's talking about setting shared goals, is that we have a shared goal of when we get married, snowballing those mortgage payments and making some bigger payments so that we can pay this off a lot quicker and be debt free.
Right. And speaking of money, again, we got discuss inheritances. Now, I'm assuming this means that, like, if you want to leave money, who gets it? Do my kids get my thing, and then Zeke gets Christine's thing? Or I'm kind of confused by it. Or is this talking about, like, if I got a bunch of money, do I share it with my wife? I don't know.
With your wife, did you say?
Well, yeah, like here.
Yeah, so this is like our pension. So Chris and I both have pensions from our day jobs, and so those would be things that once you retire, does your partner get the partner share, or are you going to have your beneficiary be your child instead? And so talking through those types of things as you're navigating this blending situation.
I never thought about that stuff. When it comes to retirement and it comes to like who gets what and all that life was it
life insurance,
yeah,
and
life insurance,
pensions,
all that
and
stuff.
all of those things.
Right. Like I put it all for my kids to get everything, obviously, and all that. So I don't really think about that too much, but
it's something that we'll talk about as we're blending our family.
Oh, we got a lot of work to do, baby. We got to figure all this stuff out.
But it's those things that you don't think about that can become thorns in your side or can become rifts in your relationship.
Right. And finally, we got here, it says revisit the plan. So I'm assuming this means go back to the budget, figure it all out, and just schedule, regular check-ins when you like get things rolling. People tend to kind of get in their ways, and they kind of like deviate from the plan that we had set in stone. I told you we're gonna do this. Oh man, were you really serious about that? I forgot. Oh, I said, honey, we're saving that X amount of dollars for this. Oh, but I really want a new Xbox. Or my car needed new rims. I don't like the old ones.
Yeah, but definitely being flexible because circumstances change. You never know. Something might come up with a kiddo. There might be an unexpected expense, something. So making sure that while you do all of these things and you set things in place, that you revisit it and that finances are a frequent conversation. The stats are really high for the divorce rate. And last week on our interview, we even cited the data that 67% of second marriages end in divorce.
Wow.
And I believe that a lot of that has to do with people not being willing to talk about the hard things like finances.
Speaking of finances, and there's another thing too, living here in Southern California, living here in San Diego in particular, it's very, very expensive to live here. And I just heard a stat that in California in general, for the last 7 years, more people have left the state of California than have come in.
Wow.
Because it's super expensive to live here. And I bet you finances is a big cause for that number to be 6-7%, like you said. And I bet especially here, this whole list of finances and talk about financing and sharing incomes and budgeting is probably super important for a lot of people, because a lot of people probably don't talk about that. And they just go whatever, and they just try to wing it.
Yeah.
And they get married, and then bad things happen.
And so even though we're talking about the context of this being for blended families, there's some principles in here that apply to people that are first timers getting married.
Right.
You might not have to take into account stepchildren and things like that, but talking about things like how you're going to manage your household budget, shared expenses, joint accounts versus not. I think it's really important that everybody has transparency around finances, and we are here to support you. All right, and now it's time for your favorite part of the show, Would You Rather?
Would you rather? Fantastic. What you got for today, baby?
All right, Chris. This one is a great one in the spirit of things relationship and finance. Are you ready?
Ooh, perfect. What you got?
Perfect. Chris, would you rather be in a relationship with someone with a low credit score but a high work ethic, or someone with a high credit score that is entitled and never had to work for anything in their life?
Well, wow. Gosh, let me tell you something. You can always fix a low credit score. You can't fix spoiled, and you can't fix entitled.
Right.
Especially when no one's going to tell them no. So, and I've had, honest to God, I've had super, super low credit scores. The story of my life personally, it's been a down, an up and a down, a lot of down, and then an up. And I've had, my credit score at one point was probably 400 or 405 or 410. It was super low. You can't get nothing with that. And I've built it up, and I've had good work ethic, and I've built it up to what it is today, and I've gotten houses and cars and all that stuff. So, and I respect anybody that's gone through the same journey that I have. So I would definitely date somebody that had the low credit score and the good work ethic. What about you?
Yeah, same here. And that's a little bit of our story. Is when Chris and I met, I had just rebounded from some real financial devastation from my divorce. And he was super transparent with finances in the very beginning. It was really refreshing where he opened up the Credit Karma app, not an ad, but it is what we use. And he was like, oh, here's my credit score. And I was like,
I did?
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
not like on our first date.
Oh, that's what I thought you meant. I thought you meant that.
No, in our first couple of weeks when we were dating, I remember we were having dinner at a restaurant out in East County in San Diego. It was a little Mexican restaurant. And we were talking about finances and credit score. And Chris showed me his, and then I just was really open with him. And I said, mine's not there yet, but here's what I've been doing to work on it. And he knew that I've been a hard worker and was just in a real unfortunate set of circumstances.
Right.
And so, same like him, I've walked that journey. But I appreciate a person that doesn't make excuses and is working hard to change their circumstances.
Yes, that's key too, is making sure this person is working their way up, not back down into the grave of finance problems.
Yeah, you definitely want to stay out of that really deep debt spiral.
Right, and people that are spoiled and are entitled, they kind of like, hey, whatever, I got more money's coming. I got the money tree, aka daddy, or whatever.
Or whatever, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. And they kind of like don't have a good respect for any, and also not just with money, but property too. Somebody said this many, many years ago. If you have two 16-year-old kids, say Zeke's going to be 16 soon, two 16-year-old kids, one totally spoiled, got everything they ever wanted, and Zeke, who saved up his entire allowance and bought his first car. Say it's like kind of an older car, cheap car, used. Zeke bought it. Then he got the second kid who was just given a brand new car. In 1 year's time, which car do you think is going to be nicer in the end of that one first year? I guarantee you it's going to be Zeke's. It's not going to be the spoiled kid, even though it's a newer car.
Right. It's going to be the one that worked for it.
Right.
Because you have a value and appreciation for something that you had to earn.
Exactly. That's my point exactly.
Yeah. So thanks so much for tuning in this week. We do want to give a little shout out to our kiddo. Our oldest, Zeke, has started his own podcast, The Zeke Show. Yeah. So
no way.
The Zeke Show has its first episode on SoundCloud. And so you can look for The Zeke Show on SoundCloud, and I'm going to get that username for you in just a second.
Yes, Christine's looking for it right now. She's digging across the room, and she's pulling up her computer. Her iPhone, and she is digging around in her iPhone, and she's looking for it right now. Nobody's texting any pictures now or like that. We're going to get this thing going here. And it is the Zeke Show, and Zeke did it all by himself.
Yeah, and you can find him on SoundCloud at EWBelcher7887, and his first episode was called Soccer and Sports. He's talking about things that he's passionate about, and so that just goes to show you, friends, share your passions with your kids, because you never know when they're going to come up with their own innovations and walk in your shoes. And so let's give it a shout out to the Zeke Show and to kids being innovative.
That is fantastic. And thank you guys so much for listening. And it's been a great week, and we can't wait to do this again. And we will see you guys next week.
Remember this week that life is too short to wake up in the morning with regret.
So love the people who treat you right, forget about the ones who don't, and believe that everything happens for a reason.
If you get a chance, take it. If it changes your life, let it. Nobody said that it would be easy.
They just promised it would be worth it. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Chris.
And I'm Christine, and until next week,
keep moving forward.